American people, this is the State of the Union of the No Time. I don't think so. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're not. This is Brazil family. Ye hai no time. Ye jo desh hai. What am I doing? Family. It's time. This is no time. What? Family. It's time. It's time. I think it's time. Let's bring it home, boys. Let's bring it home. It's time. Let's bring it home. This is part 1 of the 50th episode special of No Time. अरे कितनी मेहनत कराते हो यार. We made it. 2 years out, 50 episodes in. Who would have thought? Not me. Given the fast-paced life that we all live, I am usually quite terrible at reflecting on everything that has happened so far and just taking it in. So what better way to mark the 50th episode than by looking back on all the great conversations that we've had to date. This is going to be part 1 of a 5-part series where I look back on some of the best segments, best ideas or concepts that we've learned, the most powerful stories. I've had the honor and privilege of interviewing such interesting guests from so many different walks of life. Really proud of what we have accomplished so far, and I'm really excited to see what the next 50 episodes will look like. So without much further ado, let's dive into the list. In the first clip, Anurag talks about the lost identity of expats and immigrants and stay in the Middle East. This is a topic that's really close to me. The identity struggle is something that comes hand in hand for kids that have grown up in the Middle East. Who am I really as one tear rolls down? In the second clip, Lara talks about visiting Burning Man for the first time. And she shares a really powerful story about how that anarchic world really felt like home to her. In the third clip, this was an interesting one because I had thought I'm just asking a simple question to Fahad about how he creates characters in his sketches that go viral and what's the inspiration behind him. And turns out it's an actual host in his house. Boo. As you do. In the fourth clip, the Moroccan sensation Anas Siraj Muni talks about how Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling have evolved into the most dominant fighting styles and why they succeed. In the fifth clip, we have the CEO of STEP, Ray Dargam, talking about some successful techniques and really dissect some thought experiments that every entrepreneur can use in their journey. In the sixth clip, we have forensic psychologist Dr. Kiran Hilia, who talks about how our names affect the impression that we make. And she uses the example of how Barack Obama's election campaign was influenced by his name itself. It's a very fascinating deep dive into psychology. In the seventh clip, the dance sensation Nidhi Kumar plays a very spicy rapid fire round. In the eighth clip, we have Shireen Ahmed, who shares a really powerful story from her childhood and how hypnotherapy helped her with the healing process. In the ninth clip, we have celebrity coach Nick St. Morris, who talks about what really sets professional athletes apart and what makes them so different. And in the final clip, we have Philadelphia's very own Nugget, who in a light-hearted segment really dissects what makes a good Tinder bio. This is No Time. If you like what you see, then do hit subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, or rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. It's been 2 years, 50 episodes. You guys should know the drill by now. This project is a labor of love, so if you'd like to see it continue, then do consider making a donation on Patreon, Anchor, Instagram. Pick your poison. If not through monetary channels, then do consider sharing these episodes, leaving your likes and comments. All your engagement really goes a long way. For other forms of love and support, you can follow this channel on Instagram or Twitter, or follow me personally. And now, Shalaj, it's No Time. I did struggle later on with a sense of identity. So we are NRIs. Well, you not anymore, but while you were growing up, we were NRIs. And that is largely seen as a negative label these days because the sentiment is that they are Indians that are rich. If you have seen that money, please share it with me. And they don't know what's happening in India because they're not in touch with the scene. Their patriotism is misplaced. That is largely the conception. And on the other hand, we are not Arabs as well. In comparison to the second generation Indians that are born in America, in the UK, in Australia, their identity is American or Australian. They've grown up in learning the local history. They speak the accent and the slang. And their identity is being Australian or American. But in our case, we are still Indians. If you still ask us today, I wouldn't say I'm Arab by any stretch. Right? So I felt like I was nowhere. Did you also struggle with this?
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest and constant struggles of my life, where it's this. I mean, it's the phenomenon called third culture, right? I mean, we are third culture kids by many ways. You were born in in the Middle East and raised, and I was born and brought up in Dubai as well. And so there is that deep connection to the city that we have identified with, but there's that sense of belonging that lacks because we are not native to the city and we'll never be. And so it creates this big dilemma of like understanding who we are, where we are, and how do we belong to any of these, constructions of, where and who do we identify closely with. This was easy to a certain extent to ignore when we were living in Dubai and we were around all of us who had similar experiences. The moment you step out of this bubble, though, is when it like actually hits you. And recently I had a discussion about this on my podcast with a very close friend of mine who had a similar experience, but in Hong Kong and in London. And it's an upcoming episode, but we totally dissect this. And this lack of belonging, on one hand, though, can be debilitating because anywhere you go, you don't fit whatever description is afforded to you, right? So in the UAE, in the US, when I went, it was like, okay, are you Indian or are you from UAE? And I'm like, I am Indian by my citizenship, but I've born and brought up and spent my entire life in the UAE, so I identify with Dubai. Do I speak Arabic? No. Do I speak Hindi? Yes. Do I speak Malayalam? Yes. But it's also like when you can't be placed into those little neatly made, boxes is when you truly find how alienating it can be sometimes to not belong to what a stereotypical, description of a certain identity is. And so in the US, I experienced it where I wasn't Indian enough to hang out with the Indian students that were there. I definitely wasn't Middle Eastern enough to hang out with the Emiratis and the Saudi students who were studying over there. But what it also helps in this kind of like, third culture upbringing is that you can fit into many of these different abstractions or nationalities or identities because you realize what it means to be a little bit of an outsider or like being a little bit outside the box. So it allows you to connect and assimilate into different groups. So I look at it as a double-edged sword in which on one hand, it's made life very difficult to not fit neatly into different boxes. Because even now when I live in India, I'm not accepted completely as Indian because, people notice my accent or the way I dress or the way I talk or the way I carry myself. And it's a little different, from somebody who's had their upbringing over there, which is totally fine and understandable. But at the same time, it's allowed me to assimilate in all these different countries that I've been brought up and I've, lived my life in. And I'm thankful for that because it is a privileged upbringing. But at the same time, there is a lot of drawbacks to having that kind of, your identity placed in so many different little abstractions.
Maybe recount one memory that has stuck with you throughout. You have been for so many Burning Mans. One that always comes to your mind that has been transcendental.
Oh, there are so many. I mean,
just one then.
Where do I start? Which one? Which one? I mean, it's very hard for me to choose because so many of them are so profound and so transcendental and memorable. I'll choose this one randomly, really, not for any particular reason. It was the first year. The first year we went was 2016. And my brother and his wife insisted finally that we come along because they had been twice before. And the reason why they had been before was to attend the playa wedding of a friend. A playa wedding is a wedding that happens at Burning Man. So you call it a playa wedding.
Do you officially get married or just like...
No.
It's just okay.
Yes. I mean, I suppose you could. You could take an official celebrant and you can have an official wedding there if you want to.
But this was just like your persona is getting married to someone else. Your playa persona is getting
married. No. They're actually getting married.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they're actually getting married. They might have an official ceremony in what's called the default world, which is what we refer to. That's
the
not
boring one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
well,
the other one.
We still need the default world to make Burning Man happen, right? I mean, Burning Man is an excellent blueprint of what would happen if a bunch of really creative, generous people got together to create another way of living, experiment in community living. That's what it would look like, right? Like a post-AI world where you don't have to be coin-driven and work because you need to pay for your existence. that's what it would look like, right?
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
So you're
that's
talking
okay.
about the wedding.
But we still need the default world to make Burning Man happen. So let's
There's
not
hope for us.
let's not diss the default world. Let's bring Burning Man values into the default world so that they are more similar and less unlike with one another. Unlike one another. So, playa wedding. My brother and his wife were going. They have 4 kids, triplets, and one that's a year and a half older. So for them, it's a big deal to take 3 days off and go to Burning Man. But they did it because a friend of theirs, were getting married. And they talked about us with Burning Man, and conditions worked in our lives at that point that made it happen for us to be able to go. So we went. Every single part of this story is a story in and of itself. But long story short, we get to the greeters gate. Now, the greeters are the ones who stop you and just give you some love. You know, they're not the ones who necessarily check whatever they need to check in the car. They're literally there to give you some love. So you open the door, you get out, and they give you a hug. They just give you some pointers and stuff. And if you're new to Burning Man, they'll ask you to make a dust angel on the ground. Yes. And then they'll ask if they can hug you. They'll hug you and they'll say, "Welcome home." Okay. I didn't understand what they meant, like, welcome home. And we drove in. This was an insane Mad Max post-apocalyptic world of dust and camps that looked different and bikes gliding by like magical beings from another dimension, dressed in tutus and pasties and top hats and tails and furs and nets and iridescent body paint, and just getting goosebumps remembering it. And in that insane, harsh environment, in the heat, I saw this creativity emerging in the way people had presented themselves, in the way they had created their living quarters, their sharing spaces. And I understood why they said welcome home. And I understood why I always felt like a misfit, that I didn't belong in this context. And I vowed that the next time I went, I would go to create something myself as well. And my husband and I got on top of it, and we thought, what would we want to take as a gift? We thought, the universe. We're going to take the universe with us. And we thought, we're going to get a telescope. We'll store it at one of the storage places there. And we talked about this with my brother, and he said, you don't need to do that. You can talk to this camp. There's a camp that exists that already does that. Join them. And we did in 2017. The next year, we joined them. And I'm very happy to say now that I'm part of the board of that camp just a couple of years afterwards. And Burning Man is the ultimate learning experience because it teaches you not just how to be in these VUCA conditions. What does it stand for? Volatile, unpredictable, chaotic, and something else, ambiguous, VUCA world. It teaches you to be like that. I mean, that's why Google took Eric Schmidt there. He was part of 50 people shortlisted, their CEO. And one of their ways of shortlisting was taking Eric Schmidt to Burning Man, because all the Googlers are burners. They have all their fire performance pictures all over the offices. And did you know that the first Google Doodle was a stick man?
Oh, really? Inspired by Burning Man?
Just as a note, like, we're at Burning Man, so we're not at the office. We're at Burning Man. That was the very first Google Doodle.
All right.
Yep, look it up. And this is just one of many experiences.
You also developed your own characters. One of them is the Jinn.
Yeah.
Was that also inspired by someone, or that was a...
So yes, it was. Not online. It's an actual thing.
What is this?
It's actually someone or something in my house.
Okay.
So ever since I've been a kid, I've been experiencing paranormal activity.
Wait, what? Wait, hold on. The gin is inspired by a gin in your house?
It literally says in my bio, I can't make this shit up, and it's very,
What?
it's very true. Like
Okay.
most 95% of the videos you must have seen are very, very true. So the first video of the gin, the official video, was when I'm running to turn off the lights, and I feel like I'm being chased by someone, and then I mimic the gin. So ever since a kid, I've actually seen something once when I was brushing my teeth. There was something that just popped in and went back out. So like with a towel, and when I went out, the towel was on the floor, flat. I was like really young back then, and I was like,
What?
yeah, I'm not joking.
Damn, I didn't expect a horror story in the middle of this.
I'm just
Continue. Yeah.
So from there, I progressed with time. There was once I used to have, so me and my brother, and we were like rowdy boys. So we would jump a lot and potential to hit our head on the floor. So my mom had these foam mats, those gym mats. So if you walk bare feet on it, you can hear that sound. So once I'm sitting with my brother and we're just, playing, and both of us can distinctly hear steps walking past us. We can't see anything, but we can hear it. I've seen shadows, weird shadows. So like you look at light coming from one perspective and there's a shadow, right? Shadows cast. And there's nothing over there but shadows being cast. I've seen all of this. I've experienced all of this. Things randomly disappear. I once hid 50 dirhams from my mom, which I stole from her, and then I never found it back.
Oh, he's a good gin.
He is a good jinn.
Yeah.
He's definitely a good jinn.
Teaches the right values.
My brother has seen something in his dream. I've till date I have sleep paralysis. Once I showed the middle finger to it for disturbing me in my sleep, and then it ended. We have a love-hate relationship.
This is the first time I heard of a comedy character being inspired by a ghost.
There's a first time for everything.
I've never come across this.
No. Every single thing that I create on my content about jinn is rooted or stemmed from something that has actually happened. Why is this coming as shock to you? Why would I?
Why wouldn't it be a shock to me?
Like, why would I create specifically a jinn character in my videos? When
I mean, it's relatable. Like all of us, when you switch off
who
the
has
light.
a jinn? In their house?
No, but like when you switch off the light in the room and you're walking, you always feel like there's something watching you. That is a very
So
relatable
maybe
thing.
that's the message that I'm trying to communicate to people, guys. We have actual people living with us who are jinn.
Wait, did you actually find out? Like, is there a backstory to this in that house you live in?
It was abandoned for like 5 years, the whole place.
I wonder why.
The whole building was off. No, there was no diva connection for like 5 or 6 years. Okay. That's what I know of. So maybe that gave them like, they're like, oh, empty place, let's move in. And then we moved in. So from what I know, that there is a fatherly jinn and there's a kid jinn.
There are two of them?
Yeah, but I'm only able to pinpoint one of them mainly. The kid jinn most has mainly disturbed my mom, and my brother has seen some kid run into my sister's toys and then come back, has dreamt this. I've seen it once. So whenever I make eye contact in my dream, I freeze.
Eye contact with what?
So like some kid sitting at the end of the room, and I would come in and I would bang the door to scare it, and it just makes eye contact with me. I see the eyes clearly. I freeze, like how glitches, you lag. And then you wake up. I've woken up very tired sometimes. Like I felt like I didn't even sleep. Like I was awake the whole time. I'm sorry if you didn't expect such a.
This is meant to be a comedy episode.
It is very funny.
But now I'm very.
It is very funny, because one time
hilarious.
this one time I was sometimes you stay awake till 5-4. I heard the sound on the cupboard. Like I got really pissed off, so I got up. And I made the same sound. And I made this really angry face and I said, don't do it again.
What? Anu? You're threatening them.
Yes. So they're not more powerful than you are. You're actually more intelligent. So if you make them aware that you're aware of them, they'll stop bothering you. And I do that every day by creating a video every now and then. Hey, listen, I reached 500,000 views with one video. So
does the jinn know that he's actually sourcing your content?
I would. So maybe if in the afterlife I end up seeing him, I would like to believe that, yeah, he knew that he was part of the reason.
There's a father and a son, huh? It's very interesting.
So I've seen a kid and I've seen a older figure.
Yeah.
So
damn, I'm sure there's a story to this in that house,
I don't know.
or
I
maybe
don't
the
know.
entire building.
Maybe it could
Ooh.
be because the apartment next to us has never stayed fully vacated for more than a year, 2 years. Always people have come and left. People have come and left. Now it's empty.
I wonder why. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like all that's curiosity.
Damn. I could actually spend an hour discussing this. This is not the intention. Okay, but that's an amazing story, man. So let me just ask you. This is not part of the script at all. We're going off script now.
Okay.
So, do you believe in the existence of ghosts and something supernatural? Clearly, you are tending
no.
towards it.
So in part, my religion has, as Islam states, that there are beings that are jinn which you can't see, but the jinn have the ability to see you, and they can transform into physical, take manifest of a animal or maybe even a man.
Maybe I could be.
You could be. You never know. So I always like to carry a X-ray vision with me to see if there's anything under.
Oh, you can detect it with X-ray.
I mean, they're electromagnetic waves, the energy at the end of it, right? So
Maybe the jinn has come inside me to give you this therapy session.
you never know.
Damn.
I'm just gonna take away content, whatever he gives me.
Damn, he can't even sue you. Not there physically.
There is no law. There's no article that states I can't.
That's crazy.
Halloween's right around the corner.
What do you think are the most dominant fighting styles that every fighter needs to have now?
Wing Chun. It's, you know what? Bruce Lee had something right. You know, he said, "Be water." You know what I mean? Like, and I honestly, I 100% believe that you need to learn everything, especially in this modern day and age of mixed martial arts. Now everybody is learning mixed martial arts since an early age. You know, when they start with mixed martial arts. They don't just start with one discipline or the other, like what was the case at in the past, or what I started with. Like, for example, I started with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I first started. I've done some martial arts as a kid, but it was like Aikido, some Kung Fu, and I would do 1 month, get bored, not be disciplined, and go back to football, you know, because for us in Morocco, football is the national sport, you know. Unless there was a lot of people doing kickboxing. Where I was, there weren't a lot of gyms, a lot of kickboxing gyms, so I couldn't really access it, you know what I mean. So it was football for me the whole time. And then if you have a fight, it's a fight during the football game, or if you're going to school. And like, my neighborhood was split into two, and we would fight going to school, or going to buy bread, or going to get grocery shopping for my mother. You know what I mean? So, but I think, like, a lot of people now, they learn mixed martial arts, so they do everything, and that's how it should be. You should be good at everything, because you never know where the fight would go. You never know. Yes, every fight starts standing up, so you have to have a good striking, or at least good defense. You know how to protect yourself. You know, and then if you want to take the fight to the floor. But what I would recommend parents to do, for example, if they have kids, is enter them into either Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or wrestling. You know, especially for me, I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it includes kind of the wrestling, you know what I mean? Like, you're taking the fight to the floor, you continue on the floor. And to me, it's like human chess. It's not just depending on muscle or strength. You have to think 2 or 3 steps ahead of your opponent. For me, I'm leaning more towards Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or wrestling.
Joe Rogan has described. Don't worry about it. No, leave it. Don't worry about it. Oh, you've broken your
My
masterpiece.
Yeah,
Well,
I was very proud.
that's how it goes now. So Joe Rogan has spoken about jiu-jitsu being a language. In a way, what you're learning, the moves and the holds you're learning, are just like your vocabulary.
Yeah.
And then what you do on the day is you're just speaking it out. In a way, it's also improv.
Yeah.
Because, or it's like jazz music. You're doing holds that, like, you might have not planned for them, but you know them.
Yeah.
Now you're just trying to see how you can transition from one into another, and you're playing on the mat.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that, and I think it showed, like, it came back to me in my last fight. My last fight, I won by submission, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't been doing a lot of jujitsu as much as before. Especially for this fight, I was focusing more on striking, and I thought that I was gonna stand up and strike with my opponent, but it just happened. I pressed him against the cage, took him down, and he managed to sweep me. And I went for an armbar, and he defended the armbar. And all of a sudden, I can feel like my body is moving on its own. I'm not even thinking. So from the armbar to the omoplata, from the omoplata back to the triangle to armbar to triangle to armbar, and then I finished with the triangle. And it hit me. I wasn't even thinking. It's just my body moved on its own because I've practiced this combination or this chain so many times that it just became a muscle memory.
So you recommend jujitsu or wrestling? Because even we've seen the trend in MMA as well, is that if someone's a good striker but their wrestling's poor, they get called out after a while. But good wrestlers with decent striking or average striking might still make it really far. Initially, that was the criticism for Khabib, where they used to say striking has never been challenged, but you never even got to see him strike because he was just wrestling his way to the championship. And you actually got to see him on the feet with a good striker was against Connor in the third round, and he showed that he can stand up to them. And now with the Justin fight as well. But what we've largely noticed is that wrestlers, they will dominate regardless of what their striking capabilities are,
Yeah.
which is something Ben Askren tried to exploit, but it didn't work out well for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't work out well for Ben Askren against Masvidal, did it?
It was a test that was put forward by Simon Sinek, and what he challenged founders to think and reflect is that, would you still be attached to your idea or your company if your name wasn't attached to it? So if you were not the CEO or the founder and you were not to gain money from it or power or fame from it, would you still promote that idea? Do you think this is an important test that founders need to go through of a moment of self-reflection?
It's good to think of that to see if you really believe in the problem you're trying to solve or not. But definitely you're attached. I mean, it's a human nature that we're going to be attached to something that we're involved in. And you cannot completely take the two, disconnect the two from each other. But it's really about, finding a problem that you're excited about solving. And many times these problems are things that you might have experienced yourself, but it's not always the case. There's also kind of a differentiation between synthetic startups and non-synthetic startups. So synthetic is basically when you would basically, you just want to start a company and you sit and think through ideas and ideas and ideas, and then you find an idea that you think will work, and then you go and do it. But the whole purpose was because you wanted to start a company. Now, doesn't mean that these companies will not succeed. There's a lot of them that have succeeded, and it could still succeed. But a better way around it is to actually start from a problem. So you experience a problem that you feel is a really problem that others are facing as well, and you're excited about solving that problem.
That's
and
a non-synthetic startup?
Yeah, it's
That's
a non-synthetic. Yeah, so you actually have a real problem that you've experienced, and then you're excited about solving, and you go and start a company because you experienced that problem before even thinking about starting a company. Yeah, there are different. I mean, sometimes we all experience problems every day, so not every problem you experience is something that you want to go and start a company for. I certainly think of a lot of. I have 2-3 ideas already, on top of my head of things, bad things or bad problems that are, things that I struggle with on a day-to-day basis that I would like someone or me to solve or whatever. So I think about these and I think about the what could be the solution to solve them. But that's not enough as well. Not, then you need to see if others are facing this problem as well. Is it a problem that is solvable? And people would pay for it, and how can you deliver the product?
As a continuation of that is Simon Sinek, he has posted a school bus test, which says that if the founder of the company is hit by a school bus tomorrow and dies, would the company still survive? And arguably, you can say Apple clearly is a very different company when Steve Jobs was in power and now isn't. And we've seen on 2 different instances that has happened because he was removed initially as well. Microsoft, after Bill Gates left, Steve Ballmer, there was a clear decline, and now it's trying to recuperate again. The same argument can be made for SpaceX, Tesla with Elon Musk, Amazon with Jeff Bezos. So what he argues is, and my gut instinct is, they will not be the same companies without, let's say, SpaceX might not be the
There
same.
would be very different companies,
Very
that's
different.
for sure. Yeah.
So then the argument is that you're not really running a company. What you're running is the force of personality, because it doesn't transcend the personality, you know?
Yeah, I don't think that's fully true, and also I don't think it's fair to generalize with these very big examples, such as Microsoft or Apple, whatever, to every company that's around the world. They're very different. So a CEO of Apple or of Microsoft does a very different kind of job for a company that's 1,000 people. The 1,000 people company CEO does a very different job than the company that has 100 people, and then the 100 people CEO company does a very different job than a company that has 10 people. So they need different things at different times. Usually the companies that are, like the examples that you gave, like Elon right now or Steve Jobs at the time, the 2 biggest things that they drive is, one, it's a vision that drives the entire company, as well as externally, customers and talent, right? So their vision and their kind of like personality and profile drives that in one way or the other. The second thing is a way of doing things generally across the organization as a philosophy that really kind of like impacts their strategy and so on. So these are the 2 things that are in very large companies you could look for if the founder or CEO leaves, but it certainly becomes a different company when they leave and someone else comes in. Now, if you look at a company, a small company, like a 50 people company or startup, it's different because it's likely that the CEO is not just sitting there sharing a vision and driving things externally and all of that, but is actually like doing work themselves. So they're still heavily involved in a lot of like things that are hands-on. So in that case, it's also really different. So you're right that a company is different when the founder or CEO leaves, and that's obvious. Any transition of kind of when you have someone leading something, it's gonna change. Like Trump and Biden now, or whatever example. So when you transition into a new kind of someone who's leading, then it's gonna look different. It has to look different. And the person who's taking on should do things differently than or should kind of like put in their own personality and character into it. But again, they're really different. And also, some companies, they're CEOs or founders who are usually entrepreneurs, like the examples that you gave, like Bill Gates or Elon or Steve Jobs or these guys. It's more like because they're entrepreneurs, so they're driving like a certain groundbreaking kind of like vision that requires a lot of that. But most companies around the world are not like that. So if you look at all the S&P 5, a lot of the S&P 500 companies, or other big organizations, especially like classical ones like airlines or big chains or whatever, they're not. Their CEO is there to. It's a character and a profile and someone who's good at business and good at protecting shareholders' interests and running an operation, and often comes from an industry background. That's what a CEO is. It's not necessarily of course in some cases you need that vision and whatever, but in many cases it's really about the more quiet CEOs or the ones that run. So in these cases, the company is less impacted necessarily by that kind of it. But every company needs innovation. So whoever is there, they need to be innovating. They need to be coming up with new things and a new way of doing things. So yeah, it does look different, but it's what I would say is that if a small or a large company, if a new person comes in, then they should, regardless of the size, they should run it in their own way.
In this segment, I would love to know more about your work on the appearance of multiracial faces and how that's affected by the names that are assigned to them. And you've used the case study of Barack Obama
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this was a study I did years ago, and that was part of my honors thesis, actually, which then became my PhD thesis. And so I was looking at, because my research supervisor, he's a forensic psychologist, but a research forensic psychologist who looks at face recognition and how that's relevant in things like eyewitness evidence, immigration processes. So if I've got a photo of you in your passport and I'm looking at you, how good am I? And how hard is that task to actually determine if this face is you or somebody else? So how useful CCTV images are at actually identifying a person in the population and all of these things. So he gave me some different studies to look at to explore what my potential research topic might be. And one was a study that looked at, they took multiracial faces. So they were half white, half black. So this is a US study. And they morphed them together to get sort of as ambiguous a face as possible in terms of racial identity. And then they labeled the faces in a memory task. They labeled the faces as either black or white. And they found that when the face was labeled black, when people rated the face, they rated it as having more archetypal black features. Like they would rate the nose as being wider and the eyes as being further apart and the skin as being darker and the lips as being bigger and all those things, even though it was the exact same face compared to when it was labeled white. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. But I thought, well, but we don't walk around with labels that I don't wear a shirt telling people that I'm white, for example. And then I thought, but our names are often very indicative of our cultural identity. And so rather than let me replicate this study, and being in Sydney, in Australia, our two dominant student populations are Asian, like Oriental Asian, so Chinese versus Caucasian. So I thought I'll create my own faces. So I went around taking photos of male students around the campus and morphing these faces together with different software. And then I did some pilot testing to get people to rate the faces without any labels. I picked the faces that were rated as being a very 50-50 split in terms of how the person looked. And then I did research on like the most common names, boys' names in China and in Australia, both in terms of boys' names, but also the most common surnames. So Lee in China versus Smith or something in Australia. And then I randomized, as people were exposed to these faces, they would either be labeled a very Chinese sounding name or a very Australian Caucasian sounding name. So Andrew Smith versus Huang Li or something. And I found sort of a similar pattern there, that if the face was labeled with a Chinese name, then people saw the face as looking more Asian than if it was labeled with a Caucasian sounding name. And so people go, well, why is that interesting? They go, well, then often the name is sort of your immediate impression of people, and that's going to sometimes influence how you then interact with that person. And so I know, like with my own name, Kiran, that's a name that's quite confusing to people because I know there's Kiran, which is Indian. And then the way that I spell my name is Kirin, which is Japanese. So if people have gotten an email from me, but also there's Kiran, which is in Ireland is a boy's name. So people, if they don't see me like through an email correspondence and then they meet me and they go, oh, you were not what I was expecting you to look like. And so you go, and I've noticed like when people realize that, like even the language that they've used in emails switches once they realize that actually I'm a woman or I'm Caucasian or something. And so that can help set the stage for how we then interact with people and how much we think, there's this whole in-group versus out-group nature of how we interact with people and how much cognitive effort we put into recording their face to memorize it later, because my research was looking at the own race bias in face recognition. So we're better at recognizing faces from our own racial group. So it's that whole they all look the same to me effect. So in my study, I used Barack Obama as like a case study in that his name is Barack Obama, but his mum's maiden name is Dunham, and he went by Barry when he was at university. And so it's like, like when he was campaigning, what might have been the reaction if he had chosen to campaign under the name Barry Dunham as opposed to Barack Obama? Because that sets up very different expectations. And so I find that that's very interesting, because if that's the case, then that is my argument. What I explored in my thesis is this one of those factors that contributes to how we then interact with people, because even things like their name and how they might dress and stuff signals to us their cultural identification.
Move on to the fun questions.
Yes.
So we're moving to a very exciting rapid fire
Oh
round.
my god, I was not ready for this.
You can get ready. I'm pretty sure, Nidhi, you are born for this. अब coffee करना तो तूने देखी है.
मैंने बहुत practice भी किया coffee में.
Because you might be answering the same
I know,
questions.
right?
So you watched it, you know how it goes. I'm going to ask you some questions. Make sure your answers are rapid and full of fire. Can't believe I'm getting into Karan Johar, as many in the industry have, but
Yeah.
let's... Anyway, moving quickly. Bro, Shah Rukh Khan dekha hai.
Shahrukh Khan dekh raha hai,
Uska best
exactly.
friend hai wo.
I'm not in this podcast. Okay.
Ready? Kuch
Right.
karna hai?
Guys, please, I just hope I'm good. Yeah.
Don't worry, you'll rock it. You have to win the hamper after all.
Is there a hamper?
If you win, you'll find out.
You-
Anyway, dekh kitne sare gifts pade hain idhar. And chalo, let's start.
Let's go.
If you woke up one morning and you found out that you turned into the following, what would you do? Anushka Sharma.
Have more of Virat Kohli's babies.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Shamak Dawar.
Open another branch in a place that they've never opened in. I don't know. Yeah.
Business mindset.
Businessman. Yeah.
Remo D'Souza.
Oh. Make do an all make a film with all dance influencers. Dance influencers.
Like ABCD, but
But with influencers. Fun. I think it'll
Yeah.
be super fun. Like drama, gossip, social media. I think it'll be fun.
oh, nice. Madhuri Dixit.
Oh, if I was Madhuri Dixit, I would be the queen of the world. I don't have to do anything, I think. I don't know what I'll do. No, this is a very hard question. I can't.
Can't have any motivation if you're Madhuri Dixit.
I
right?
know,
You're-
right? I mean, I'm Madhuri.
Prabhu Deva.
Oh, if I was Prabhudeva, sir, I would want to meet Michael Jackson, sir, but how would I do that?
Travel back in time.
Travel back in time.
Oh,
Yeah, like maybe refresh his
Yeah.
memories and like go, yeah, I would, I mean, that's the dream.
nice. One movie dialogue or quote that describes Nidhi Kumar.
Okay, now this is hard because I don't know. But you know what? I feel like I really like resonate to the Shah Rukh Khan dialogue. Is very simple. Like when he says, no, not Shah Rukh Khan dialogue, wo jo Amrish Puri's dialogue. Ja Simran, ji le apni zindagi. That, because I mean, I just feel like I don't know. I just very like it's me. You know, like just go and live your life and like do whatever you want. And I feel like I really like that's who I am as a person. I want everybody to do that too. Like just live your life and don't care about others. And yeah.
Also poetic because your dad also supported
Dad
you.
also supported.
Yeah, so-
Yes. Oh, that was a good
Yeah.
one. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Favorite female Bollywood actor in the past or now? Both.
Past was Kajol.
Hmm.
Right now, honestly, no one.
Male Bollywood actor?
Ayushmann Khurrana and Rajkumar Rao. I am obsessed. Ayushmann Khurrana, I'm obsessed. And Rajkumar Rao also, like, I'm obsessed. And before, it was used to be Shah Rukh Khan. Like, I was crazy about Shah Rukh. So.
But unfortunately. Anyway, one song that will pull you to the dance floor immediately.
Oh, there's so many. But I think all Govinda songs. I think, a recent one, if you want to keep this very relatable, Husn Hai Suhana.
One song that always makes you smile.
Jaane tu dil janta hai, tu hai to I'll be alright. That one. I can't sing, guys. My throat is.
If you were stuck on an island with two people, who would they be?
Ranveer Singh. मुझे भी सोचना भी नहीं था. This actually happened. Ranveer Singh and यार, why are these such hard questions? I've never thought about these things.
Coffee करने में तो यही पूछते हैं.
I know.
Yeah.
Ranveer Singh and I think Varun Dhawan. Now don't ask me why. No.
Okay. What's been your craziest interaction with a fan?
Oh, there have been so many. So many. I think recently the craziest one. I don't know if there was any craziest, but I feel like whenever they see me for the first time, like especially when they meet me in a mall, and agar do teen ladkiyan, and then when they scream, "Oh my god, we love you so much!" and then when they say all of these things in front of my face, I'm just like, "Oh my god, this is so cute!" and they want to take selfies and this that. I don't think anything crazy has happened yet, but yeah.
अभी तक किसी ने खाती नहीं लेके अपने खून में?
नहीं यार, मुझे चाहिए
Guys,
भी नहीं, please.
Guys, what are you doing?
No!
Ideas. आप जरा
No.
अपना address बताना इनको.
No kids, please.
Oh no, kids. नहीं कभी
Yes, I don't need it.
These are jokes.
These are
Yeah,
jokes.
Just to specify.
Yes.
Okay. What's the worst relationship advice someone's given you?
Worst relationship advice. Wow. This I really have to think because there are so many. When oh yeah, okay, there was this one thing. I think one of the worst was when I had to forgive someone that so basically my ex-boyfriend did something, the worst thing possible. And I was in love apparently, which clearly now, I mean, now that I think about it, I wasn't, but I was in love or whatever, but they did it and I wanted to forgive that person. But I mean, so when I spoke to my friends about it and they said, no at first, but then they gave in because I was like, but yeah, they were like, do it. It's okay if you want to. So I think they should have like slapped me and be like, no, you don't do it, but they should have been more harsh maybe, but
Friends.
Yeah. Friends.
So what's the worst pickup line that's been used on you?
Oh my god, there are so many. Okay, not gonna lie, the most common, like this, I don't even have to think. The most common one that has ever been used on me from I don't even know how many men is the heaven one. Are you an angel because you've been like what's the, I don't even know what it is.
Have you dropped out of
Dropped out of heaven.
मैं नहीं use करता, मुझे पता नहीं. कैसे बोलते हैं?
कैसे बोलते हैं? अच्छा.
क्या है वो? Heaven,
हाँ.
hell.
So I think that's the most common and I don't like it. It's no.
Guys, find new ones.
Please find new ones because I don't think I'd be impressed if you use that line. Yeah.
What's the best pickup line that's been used on you?
You know what? Honestly, there was one that was very recent and I liked it. Wait, I don't remember. No, I've been put on the spot. Okay, if I get to know, like if I remember it again, I'll let you all know. Let's come back to this.
सोचते रहना बाद में.
I'm gonna think about this.
Throughout the interview, if you ever.
Yeah.
याद है किसने बोला था?
Yeah.
Okay. Then just flat.
Yeah.
Chalo, we'll give you the time. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Pressure में नहीं डालना.
I'm pressured.
If you could go on a date with one person, married or single, who would it be? But except Cristiano Ronaldo and Ayushmann Khurrana.
I would really love to go on a date with Ayushmann Khurrana, but I would love to go with Ranveer Singh.
If you went on a date with Ranveer Singh, what is your perfect date like?
With him, I would go to, I don't know, I think I would go to Ibiza or Amsterdam. I think on our first date, I'm just gonna, we were gonna make it very adventurous because Ranveer Singh is like so like, because both of us are very like, our energy levels match. So I'm just gonna be like, so do you want to do something spontaneous? And he was like, yes. And then we'll fly off to like either Ibiza or like somewhere and we're gonna party. Like, it's not gonna be a normal date. I wanna go for dinner and no. I wanna party with him. I wanna have fun. I wanna eat and do everything like a day. You know what I mean? Like all the fun things.
छोटी बातें तो करते नहीं. कैंडल लाइट डिनर ये सब नहीं. इन सब का मामला नहीं.
I mean, Nidhi Kumar, Nidhi Kumar से छोटी बातें तो नहीं ना करे. I mean, it's a dream. I mean, कितना भी बड़ा बना ले. Yeah.
Of course. React with one word to the following. Sharjah.
Love.
TikTok.
Miss.
Arun English High School.
Yaar, please, yaar. No. South Indian.
What?
I think the Arun people know what I'm talking.
What?
I'm sorry.
मैं भी वही स्कूल गया था.
I know.
मैं आगरा का बैठा है इधर. Okay. मणिपाल यूनिवर्सिटी.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about the experience, not the studies or anything. Experience is okay.
One word. Mumbai.
Dreams.
What's one dance form that you really want to learn?
Bachata. I have been wanting to.
What's one movie role that you think you could have done better?
Oh. Maybe Sara Ali Khan and Coolie number 1. The Coolie number 1, the new one.
What's one thing that you always want to be remembered for?
My personality. I feel not even my dancing. I feel like just my personality and if I've ever made someone happy.
Last question. What is the best and worst part about being Nidhi Kumar?
Damn! Best part is my entire Nidhi's fam. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you do.
Nidhi crew,
Yeah, like
NK crew.
NK
yeah.
crew, like my entire Nidhi fam, like all my followers. I think they're the best part because every day I wake up, even if I'm very depressed and sad, I wake up and they have comments or something like that just makes me smile. So I feel like that's the best part. The worst part is the stress. Like, it's too much.
And that is the end, Nidhi.
Did I kill it?
ये हम मेरे जूरी से पूछना
अच्छा,
पड़ेगा
jury, अच्छा, अच्छा।
बट मेरी तरफ से आप जीत चुकी हैं
Really? अच्छा, कोई और था जीतने के लिए?
but it was a tough competition
tough.
yeah
Okay.
हम पर हम भेज देंगे
अच्छा, भेज देंगे, मुझे यहाँ पे नहीं मिलेगा on camera.
सब contactless है.
अच्छा.
Robert, one of the ways that you've also worked on healing is hypnotherapy.
Yes.
So what is hypnotherapy?
So hypnotherapy, how do I put this in a simpler way? Because I don't want to.
You have to dumb it down for me.
I really don't want to. Because I really don't want to fuck up what it is. You know what I mean? But because I had no idea what the fuck it was going into it. All I know is that my colleague at Love It was like, you know what? Try this person out. JLT office is there. You have no fucking excuses. Just go. This guy's been recommended. He's really great. I'm like, okay, cool. Hypnotherapy is basically, it's kind of like talk therapy, except you're put in a really meditative headspace. So you're laying down for an hour, 2 hours, and you're put in a really meditative state. So kind of like just how you would do yoga nidra, which is a type of yoga that you just lay down and you try to obliterate thoughts from your head and you just focus on your breathing. So it's like that, except once you're in that space where you're focused on your breathing and there's nothing else and your body's basically at rest, you try to the therapist tries to tap into your subconscious. They do this by bringing you in, by uttering words that bring you to a certain place in your life, a certain time in your life. And my specific hypnotherapy was focused on healing my inner child. You know, I went out on a whim. I'm like, listen, I don't even know if this is an inner child thing that I need to work on, but I know I need to just talk to someone. So that's what I did. I just went in and he was like, okay, you need fucking inner child healing. Like he knew off the bat. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, like that does sound ideal. You need this many sessions. I'm like, oh my God, okay, cool. I didn't know what to do anymore at this point. So I was just going with it.
Are you actually hypnotized at the point? Like, are you in a trance state? Do you have memory of what happened? Or you are...
You do have memory of what happened. For me personally, I don't know if people really get to a point where they're like, oh my God, like, fuck, I can't remember what the fuck just took place. I would say I was conscious a lot of the time, but then a lot of the things I was saying surprised. I even surprised myself because they really did come from the subconscious. Like there were certain pivotal moments from my childhood that I had completely put aside and forgotten. And only in those moments where I was asked to face different age points of myself and different people in my life in the ages that he mentioned, did I get to be put in that position again. So the flushing my mom's drugs down the toilet, that was something I completely fucking forgot. But when I was asked, when I was asked, okay, what was the moment, like, what's the worst moment that you remember in your childhood? In my conscious state of mind, if someone were to ask me that during that time, at least, that wasn't something that I would have said. I would have said something like, oh, you know, my daddy issues, like, yeah, it just sucks, I guess, to not know what having a dad feels like or having that love from a dad. Ha ha ha, you know? But when the moment that those flashbacks came to me of me actually physically, you know, taking the drugs, flushing it down the toilet, and just the mayhem that was going on with my mother and how I was so confused. I didn't know how to deal with it. And I was like, what the fuck? That really took me back. So that was the powerful moment for me in hypnotherapy.
You're kind of role playing the 9-year-old, and that acts as a point.
You're role playing, right? Because right, you're put in a place where there are absolutely no distractions, and you have to face certain people in your life, and you have to talk to yourself. So that was the tough part. Because I couldn't even face, let's say, 8-year-old me, because you really get to visualize, right? When you're in that, like a trance state like that, you get to visualize how you looked. I saw my 8-year-old self and it was so profound, and I couldn't even look 8-year-old me in the eye. And I was asked to say really healing affirmations to the 8-year-old me and to kind of be that older sister-like figure to my younger self. And just thinking about it now, like, could make me go into tears. But like, it's just such an emotional. It was just such an emotional time, and I really, truly, I highly suggest for anybody who've repressed certain things from their childhood to go through it, because it's just one more thing lifted off of you once you're done with those sessions. It's incredible. And you need that. You need to be able to look back and accept what was, and accept that, like you said, it was really not in your control if things weren't, it didn't go according to what you thought what it should have gone.
Is there anything in particular that you think sets professional athletes or celebrities apart from normal people? Like they're doing this one thing really well that other people don't really focus on.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's a tough one, but I think at the end of the day, they always say that the guy who succeeded is the guy who just failed more often. He probably failed more often than the amount of times that the beginner tried. So it's true. It's all about. Obviously, you don't want to keep doing the same things over and over again. That's just stupid. But try to learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward. And the guy who doesn't give up at the end is the guy who's going to succeed. So everybody sees, oh yeah, this guy, wow, like he's a millionaire, this and that. And you don't know the past 20 years where he's like just been failing and living on his parents' couch and didn't have any money and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, for sports, it's like that also very often. Now, obviously, you have to have the right genetics and all these things I said, but for business and in life in general, it's just about hanging in there and just believing in yourself and just never giving up,
Interesting. So to succeed, you need to fail more often and learn from your failures.
Yeah, man.
And
You have to get comfortable getting out of your comfort zone and be willing to fail. And if you fail, I mean, the amount of times that I failed and I keep failing, and it's rough on my mom, it's rough on people around me sometimes, because she sees me like she gets hurt whenever I fail at something, and I'm like, Mom, it's part of the process. It's fine. Like overall, I'm still progressing and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I have a tendency. I love going for the home run. I go for it. And yeah, most of the time it doesn't work out, but when it does work out, I'm like, man, this was sick.
That's a great segue because I've got another game for you here.
Oh, okay.
It's a Tinder bio game. So I've got a collection of bios here, and I'm just going to read them out to you and love to hear your thoughts on them.
Okay.
All right. So I've got a collection of men's bios first, and then we'll move on to the women's one.
Great.
So the first one is, this is an interesting one. So the bio says, I'm a feminist in the streets and a misogynist in the sheets.
This is a dude?
It's yeah.
I don't know what that means, man. Does that mean, okay, I guess I kind of get it. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, that would definitely fit somebody's sense of humor, I think.
Yeah. If you were a woman, would you swipe?
Oh, man, I don't know. It just depends on, that depends. So the thing is, if you're looking for a relationship, you wouldn't swipe on him because he's already talking about going to bed with you. And you haven't even gotten into the chat yet, and he's already talking about sleeping with you. So if you're looking for a relationship, you probably wouldn't swipe on that guy.
Right. Okay. Next one. A lot of guys.
Are these your friends?
Yeah, I just went to my friends' profiles. Yeah. No, how do you know, right?
Oh, okay. All right.
We don't know. Maybe they are. They're watching. They're like, is he talking about me? And this quickly go and edit it. So there's a common trope that men put in the bios, which is I'm 6'4" if you care about height.
Oh, do they do that?
Yeah.
I don't know because I never look through men's profiles.
Oh, you haven't? Oh,
No.
That's what I always do. Yeah.
I'm sure you've done it because of the show.
Yeah, you should get on Grindr. That's
Oh my God.
my research was Grindr.
Great. So it's, what is it? What do they say?
It's like because there are the tall ones like to boast about their height, so it's like I'm 6'2", 6'3" if you care about height or something like that. So-
Okay. I think that's a good move. If a lot of people are doing it, I would say maybe be a little bit more creative. And also what I've noticed is I think if you are 6 foot or over, I don't think you really have to put it in your profile because just about anybody's going to be happy with that. It's when you're under that you really need to let people know, hey, you're dealing with a dude that is going to be potentially shorter than you if you got heels on. And so I think, there's some people that don't really want to waste their time with that, which is fine. And I think you should put it, I'm annoyed that Tinder doesn't put your height in your profile and let people filter you because why waste everybody's time? Yeah, there's some people that just don't want to date a guy that's shorter than them, which is completely understandable. Do you want to date a woman that's twice your, let's say you date a woman that's just built.
This is quite tall. So
Do you want to date a woman that makes you feel small?
I mean, in terms of height, I've never really.
You've never felt small because
I've actually dated women who were taller than me.
Yeah. Did you feel small?
No, I mean, it was
You're
fine.
really secure with yourself. That's great. I'm not that secure.
I mean,
I like
I-
to feel like I'm the big one in the, like, I don't
Mm.
want to feel, I'm not a big dude. And
Right.
so being with somebody that's bigger than me, and I don't mean like necessarily even weight or height, but just like a larger structure, it just makes me insecure and I can't get over it. And I've tried and I'm 32 and it's not going away.
It is fair. I mean, can't change my height now. I wish I was taller, but
But same for
yeah.
women. Like if you're a woman, why would you ever want to feel big next to some guy that you're with? I
Why-
can't imagine women want to feel big next to their dude.
Why not? It's like my pet. My guy is like, oh, he's my 4 feet 2 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, isn't he cute?
Yeah.
Just
I've just never,
take him out for a walk.
I don't know. I just think that there's a reason that so many women want guys that are a certain amount taller than them. And I would imagine that's the reason.
Yeah. Speaking as a short guy, I hope that changes. Okay.
No, because I mean, you're entitled to your preferences.
Yeah, sure.
You like stuff that if you said out loud, I'm sure people would be horrified.
Kittens.
You like kittens?
What's wrong? They're so cute. What's wrong?
Like
Actually,
if
I don't
they
like
own
cats.
kittens?
Honestly, I don't like cats. I think they're very insensitive. But puppies, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good line.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you like what you like, and I'm sure we all wish we were less shallow, but there's certain things that we look for. Like for me, as long as your upper row of teeth looks good, bottom row of teeth can be as messed up as they need to be. It doesn't bother me at all. But some guys, your smile has to be perfect, or else they're just not interested. And also keep in mind, we're talking about somebody that you've never even met. Looks come into play way more when you don't know anything about them. That's all you have to go off of when you're just swiping left and right. So looks are everything on there until you've met the person. When you meet somebody organically, you're totally more willing to completely ignore these things if you like them. Yeah. But we're just talking about apps right now, right?
And you only see the picture. So that's all you have.
That's
right?
all you got. You don't know anything about this person.
And the bio.
Yeah, but how much can you tell? What are some other, do you have more?
I have the game goes on.
All right, let's do
It's
it.
a 24-hour marathon.
Let's do it.
So the next one is this very common trope that men use, which is I like my women like I like my coffee or like my falafel, hot and sweet. or
That
something
person
like
should be kicked off of Tinder.
that. Ouch.
What is it? What do you say?
Well, no, I mean, I like my women like I like my ex. Like I like falafel, whatever, you
Yeah.
know, crunchy or I don't know,
That
hot,
is
sweet
just-
and sour or some nonsense.
It's just not. I mean, unless you're really clever about it, I would encourage dudes to not go with that line on their profile.
Okay, so let's talk about some women's bios now. This
Okay.
is something you have experience in because you have seen many of them, I hope.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the first one is I think your favorite when they say not looking for any bullshit.
Well, it's interesting to me that like there's women that will put in their bio not looking for any assholes, as if some guy is going to look at that and go, oh, I'm an asshole. I guess I can't. Oh well.
Yeah, filter that
And
out.
Just the idea that that is a good filter. It's not. It just makes you seem really negative, and it makes me not feel like you're not a normal person. So I don't think that achieves what people that put that in their bio want it to, and it's just nobody's ever the bad guy in their story. So the idea that you're going to be like, no cheaters, there's plenty of guys that cheat that are not going to acknowledge that they're cheaters at all. And they'll be like, nah, I'm done with that now. And they'll swipe right. So all that stuff, I think things like no smokers, that's beneficial. Because if you smoke, that's a very cut and dry, like it'll be obvious that you're lying if you say that you don't smoke and you do. So things like that are helpful. But the idea that some guy's going to be like, well, she said no dickheads, so I guess I'm just out, is just not, you're not going to filter anybody out like that.
Okay, only you're for friendship.
That's a weird thing to do with the dating app. There are apps for friendship.
Yeah, why would you put that on Tinder, right?
I mean, I'm sure if it works, then cool. I think maybe, I don't know. I wish I could talk to one of the people that put that in their profile and find out what their motives are behind that. Maybe it's that they want to be friends first and have it be more organic before they get into a relationship. And so they're hoping to put that up so that the guys don't try to sleep with them right away. So I kind of respect that. But also, you're going to miss out on... No, I mean, I guess I get it. But
You just want to meet new people.
the thing is, if that's what you want, then just don't make out with the dude when you're out on dates with him. Just have it be a friendship. And when you're actually out, just be like, hey, just, I want to take things really slow and be friends first. And I think that seems more reasonable to a lot of guys than just on this dating app looking for friends. And then it's like a picture of them busting it wide open and shit. So yeah, I think that maybe I like the intention, but I just don't think it's going to maybe get the results that they want.
Yeah. Okay. I have a very interesting bio here. So it says, damn boy, are you my GPA? Because I know I can do better if I actually try.
Yeah, that's clever. I've never heard that one before, so I like that. Yeah, that's good. Is that somebody you know?
We'll never find out.
All right.
There's one person watching this and it's like, oh fuck, I need to change.
Yeah, I like that. I've never heard that. That's clever. You want to hear? I made up a pickup line just for Dubai. It's hey, are you Diwa? Because I want to talk to you on the phone for 3 hours before you tell me it's too late and you can't come over.
Damn, that's very relevant.
Yeah, I made that up. That's mine.
Is that your bio?
No, it's not my bio, but it is because I live in Abu Dhabi, so it doesn't even apply here.
What is the deal?
They have ADDC.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And what I've noticed is, sorry in advance, all the women in Abu Dhabi, for some reason, they just their quality of their pictures on all these apps is so terrible. It's like they took a picture and scanned it onto their computer and then put it on their phone. Or they just won't put pictures of themselves. And I'm like, what are you hoping for? If you don't have any pictures of yourself, this is Tinder. It's a very superficial app. Put a picture of yourself. Nobody's going to like you. It's just, to me, it's just like you're just wasting everybody's time.
HD technology hasn't reached Abu Dhabi yet. It's on its way.
Yeah, it's just, it's rough out there. And just, I don't know. It's everybody in Dubai is so good looking that when you go from Abu Dhabi and you're looking at people's profiles and then you cross the threshold into Dubai, you're just like, oh my God, dude. Wow, what is going on out here? But problem with Dubai is, I don't know, it's just so many options and people are so unstable, especially right now in these times. It's just tough everywhere, man. It's tough everywhere.
It is tough. But back to our Tinder game, I guess.
Oh, is there another bio?
There's another one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I thought you were ending it on
I like these.
Oh, you like it? Well,
Yeah.
the last one, I think we've already covered it, which is the height thing. But this is what women put. They put, if you are under 6 feet, you know what I call men who are under 6 feet? Friends.
Yeah, I think they're entitled to say that if they want to. I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. I'm not. Here's my thing. Here's my problem. My only issue is when you are a short woman, you should date somebody who is tall to you. You don't need, if you are 5 foot nothing, you don't need a guy that's 6 feet. You date a guy that's 5'8" and he's still taller than you with heels. It's these 5 foot, these little short women dating the guys that are giants, stealing resources, not just from the short guys, but from their tall female friends that are out there looking for tall guys. This tall women, I talk about this all the time. Tall women have a limited amount of resources if they want a guy that's taller than them. To see one of these guys walking around with one of these short women, it's got to be the most annoying thing in the world to them.
That's true, right? Because the 5'6" guy, he was hoping that the 5'4", but she's gone for the 6 foot.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And they're stealing everybody's resources, and it's just ruining the dating economy.
Never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I'd actually like to start a petition.
Yeah, you can write a book on this.
Change.org or something.
Yeah, you're onto something.
Yeah.
I think you can come with some
There
formulas.
should be a fine. We'll talk to
Yeah.
the government and see if we
So
could find people that are dating.
The Nugget theorem or the paradox,
That'd be
the Nugget
great.
paradox.
That'd
Yeah,
be
I
great.
think
We'll start writing emails.